It's the 50th annual meet of the Asian Development Bank, and India is a key partner of the ADB. It also comes at a time when there are new forecasts on where India's economy is going, and some of these are fairly optimistic. Joining us now to discuss where we stand, what our role over here is, the Economic Affairs Secretary, Mr. Das. Thank you, Mr. Das, very much for speaking to us. Firstly, a few months back, there were these reports from Moody's and the like that, we weren't necessarily performing GDP-wise the way that what we had expected. But since then, there has been a revision, and these are not just our numbers, these are international numbers, that up to 7.4% GDP growth is possible in the immediate run. Are you actually optimistic of that being exceeded?
You see, so far as 2016-17 is concerned, the expectation, the Central Statistical Office, the CSO has already given a figure of 7.1%. For the current financial year 17-18, we expect it to be around 7.5%. That is our expectation. And going forward, as and when the GST is introduced on 1st of July, there are many experts who have said that it will add to our GDP growth by about 1 to 1.5%. So even once the GST is introduced in July 2017, its impact will be partly felt in the current year. So therefore, that could further give a little boost to GDP in the current year. And when we go to the next financial year, that is 18 and 19, I think the GDP growth should touch about 8%. And in any case, the IMF itself has also projected in one of their recent pronouncements. They have said that once GST is introduced, India should cross 8%. So to sum up, what I am saying is that 16-17, when we get the final numbers, we expect 7.1. 17-18, we expect close to be 7.5%. We expect to be around 7.5%. And going forward, 18-19, there are very good chances of touching 8%.
So all of this is based, a large amount of this is based on the GST rollout. What about fixing rates? When would we get an idea? Will there be any surprises is what the states are asking?
You see, the GDP growth, I must just, at the cost of a little digression, I must say that the GST growth expectations are not just premised on GST introduction. That is one of the main major factors. But the other anchors of our GDP growth are the series of structural reform measures which the government has undertaken, the huge public investment which government is making in infrastructure sector, the revival of the PPP projects, especially in sectors like the highways. So there are series of developments which, series of measures which government has undertaken. So our expectation is that all these things put together should give a boost to our GDP. And so far as the introduction of GDP is concerned, the preparatory steps are very much in place. The states and the central government and the state governments, they are working very closely together. The legislation, as you know, has been passed by the Parliament recently.
So 1st July rollout, that's
1st July rollout is, at this point of time, the 1st July rollout stands, and we are very confident that it will be implemented.
You don't see any hiccups or any hurdles towards the July 1st
I don't see
rollout.
I don't see any hiccups.
And there'd be no hurdles or changes or reviews on the rate itself. It would be reasonable, is what the centre believes. The question is whether the states would believe that.
Yeah, there has been a lot of series of meetings which are going on between the centre and the states at the officials level with regard to fixation of rates. Now, the broad principle for fixation of rates has already been spelled out. As you know, there will be broadly 4 rates, and the broad principle is that whatever is the current rate, that is the state VAT rate and the central excise and service tax rate put together. Supposing, we are going to have a rate of tax at, for example, let's say there is a rate of tax, let's say at 12%. And putting the current VAT rate of most of the states and the central excise rates, if the rate is, both of them, if they work out to about 13%, then that will be fixed at 12%. Right. So whichever is the closest rate in these 4 categories of rates, the rate will be, GST rate will be fixed at that. So the principle of fixation of rate has been established. Okay. Now classifying the various goods and services under various rate brackets, that exercise is on. And it should be completed in time. And as and when the next council meeting is held, council meeting of the central finance minister and the state finance ministers, I think it will get approved. And parallelly, most of the state legislatures have now started the process of passing the tax laws in their state assemblies.
So, demonetization, you were among the people at the helm of affairs when this enormous exercise took place. And one of the points where there has been a little bit of criticism is transparency. The number, the amount of money which actually came back into the system. Do we finally, 6 months to the date, have an idea of the amount of money that came back into the system?
You see, I'll explain why it is taking time to get the amount of money. Even during the process of demonetization, during the month of November and December, for some time the Reserve Bank of India was giving out the figures of how many notes have come back. Then during discussion between the Finance Ministry and Reserve Bank of India, together we identified certain areas where there were possible double countings happening. That is because, the currency, the old notes were moving from the branches, bank branches, to their regional offices, and then to the currency chests, and then to the Reserve Bank of India. So we identified some points where double counting was happening. So after that, a decision was taken that it would be desirable to count the notes physically, to do a proper, thorough physical verification of the notes received. Now, counting of the notes is an enormous exercise, because the counting capacity available with the Reserve Bank of India, it is to take care of a situation which is business as usual. In a normal situation, a certain volume of, in a normal situation,
prior to thousands of crores.
So you see, on a normal situation, you have a certain capacity of machines to count the notes, which was dealing with the annual return of old notes and all. But here suddenly, 86% of your currency got demonetized, and large number of notes have come back into the system. So obviously, the counting capacity has its limitations. That's why it's taking time.
So what is the deadline now?
Now, deadline I will not be able to spell out now. The Reserve Bank of India has put, all the counting machines. I think they are now currently working overtime. Normally, they would work in a single
another
shift.
few months.
So they are working overtime. And the Reserve Bank of India is also exploring the possibility of having additional counting facilities to sort of speed up the process of counting. And in any case, the window for return of old notes is open so far as NRIs are concerned till 30th of June. So I would expect the process to be completed in the next few months. Now, you will ask me, next few months means what, 2 months or 3 months?
That
I will not be able to say. I think let's wait for RBI to complete the process.
Okay. So, would you accept that demonetization has been more successful in broadening our tax base and perhaps less successful in fighting black money?
You see, demonetization, the story is not complete. It's not complete in the sense that the window is over so far as India is concerned. The window is over. The process of remonetization is, I can say that it is complete, because today you don't have any problem of cash availability anywhere. If in some places you don't get notes in the ATMs or in some other places, it is mainly because of local logistics issues. There are enough notes available in the system. Remonetization process is complete. Now, so far as achieving the target is concerned, the tax base, as you have pointed out, it has widened. Definitely it has widened, because
by what percentage?
That is an exercise which is still going on, because you see, two things are happening together. One is demonetization is increasing the base of the direct taxpayers. Parallelly, the GST introduction is also going to widen the tax base of indirect taxpayers as well as the direct taxpayers, because the trade volumes or the business volumes.
So that consolidated number will still take some time.
So therefore it will take some time. And so far as demonetization and the widening of the tax base and the fighting of black money is concerned, let me share one information with you. As per the initial analysis, about 1.8 million accounts, that's about 18 lakh accounts, have been identified already by the tax authorities, where the cash deposits during the period of demonetization is disproportionately high, and they bear no relevance to the income profile of those account holders or to the tax returns which those account holders have been filing in the previous years. So there is obviously a mismatch. The income tax department has now, is asking questions to those people as to explain the source of that cash. They have to explain. Only when they explain, then that money can be treated as white.
So are these the big black money evaders, these people who have now deposited money, these 18 lakh accounts, is this going to account for what we felt were the really big black money evaders?
No, this is an initial estimate. This is an initial estimate. The process is going on. There could be even more number of accounts which would get identified as we go by. But these 18 lakh accounts, it is spread across the country. And so therefore, when you say that the black money, the fight against the black money, when that objective is concerned, that's a very big number. 18 lakh is a very big number. Today in our country, let us say you have roughly about 3.5 crore taxpayers or so, roughly 3.5 crores. Now 18 lakh is definitely a very big number. And these are existing taxpayers in whose case the income profiles do not match. And there are some people who are not existing taxpayers also. Now the exercise of data mining is very much on. The process of data analysis and data mining is not yet complete. As and when more data analysis progresses, I think we will have more and more accounts coming in. Sure. And one thing I must also mention here, the process of asking questions to these individuals who have deposited excess cash is being done in a very, very non-intrusive manner, because government wants to ensure that there is no unnecessary harassment of any individual. So the questions are asked online, the replies are received online, and the whole process is done online, so that the physical interface between the income tax authorities and the taxpayers, there is no physical interface, and that is completely eliminated.
I want to talk just one or two other themes. I want to talk about the digital economy and looking forward. Demonetization, obviously an important, very large first step. Ultimately, is it at all realistic now that you come to an end of your term? Do you believe that you have set the path towards achieving a cash-free society? Ultimately, it's unrealistic in today's context. But in the future, do you believe there are enough technologies in place, for example, different apps, to enable that to be a reality?
You see, we are moving towards a less cash economy. Obviously, there has to be some component of cash in any economy, but we are moving towards a less cash economy. Now, for greater digitization, the exercise was initiated, I think, late 2014, when this financial inclusion program, the Jan Dhan program, was launched by the government, and large number of Jan Dhan accounts were opened. As on date, nearly 28 crore Jan Dhan accounts have been opened, and that has provided banking facilities to the unbanked. Now the next stage was to issue debit cards to all these individuals for whom Jan Dhan accounts have been opened. Now, during the process of demonetization, what demonetization did was that a movement was already taking place towards digitization. Demonetization gave it a massive push. I'll give you two examples of the kind of digitization which happened. In Assam, in the first week of the demonetization, we got representation from Assam, from the state government, that large number of thousands of tea garden workers, they were not able to get their wages. So an arrangement was made whereby initially they were distributed, they were given their salaries with the assistance of the district magistrates in cash. But within a period of about 4 weeks, bank accounts have been opened for thousands of tea garden workers during the period of demonetization. Now, these were the people who for generations had not seen a bank branch, had not seen a bank account. Similarly, in Gujarat, in the Amul, in the Milk Cooperative Federation, the Amul Society and all the milk producers, they were also earlier receiving cash payments. Many of them had preferred to receive the payments in cash. Now, Amul, during the period of demonetization, opened. In fact, the bank officials visited villages along with the officials of Amul, and accounts were opened for thousands of workers. So this is the kind of bank account, this is the kind of push which financial inclusion got. And the next step was to issue debit cards. Now, coming to the question which you mentioned, that is introduction of the the various mobile apps and the issue of debit cards, both of them are now being given a big push. The Ministry of Information and Technology has been authorized as the nodal ministry to implement all the all the measures. The idea is to go for a deeper penetration of the utilization of the mobile app on one side, and on the other side issue of greater number of debit cards to individuals, and parallelly back it up by providing point of sale machines, POS machines in various shops and establishments, so that when you go with your mobile phone to that particular, to a particular shop, or when we go with your debit card to a particular shop, even in the rural areas, you should be able to make full use of it. Right. So I think what demonetization has done, coming in the back of, coming closely behind, a few months or 1 or 2 years after the entire exercise on financial inclusion was launched by the government, demonetization has given a huge push, and going forward, I think we will see India turning to be a much less cash digitized economy in the next couple of years.
So I wanted to ask you one question on the role of the ADB in supporting our infrastructure development. Where do you see that happening in talks this time around? How do you see that being improved?
You see, ADB has been providing a lot of official development, a lot of external loans to the government of India for its infrastructure programs, especially in the sectors of energy, transportation and urban development. And last year, when the president of ADB was in India, he had announced that about 12 billion US dollar of loans will be extended to India by 2020, which means that in about 3 years period, $12 billion loans will be given. We have a robust pipeline of projects in infrastructure sector, in urban development, in smart cities, in metro rail projects, in the highways sector. There is a robust pipeline of projects which we have posed to the ADB. We are closely working with the ADB to step up the component of loan assistance given to government programs, to step it up from 2 billion per year to 3 billion per year. And I would see that happening in the current year.
Well, sir, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
The Secretary Economic Affairs over there telling us about what demonetization has achieved till date, what more needs to be done perhaps in the future. Also important questions are being answered on where India stands as far as GDP is concerned, the rate presently, how GST is linked to it, and the road ahead. Thanks very much, sir, once again.